This is going to be a magic ring. Some projects that start out, say a hat on the top or an amigurumi with the round ends, will call for something called a magic ring. On a magic ring, you take your yarn like you would begin making your slip knot, but instead I usually wrap it around 3 fingers to make it bigger. It's going to look a little messy, but then like you would a slip knot, but you have it wrapped around 3 to give you more room instead of just 2 fingers. The under, over, and pull through, but don't pull it tight. Kind of keep it loose right there inside the circle. And I usually have to hold it with these like this, and then hold this up here. There's probably a more comfortable, better way, but this is just how I've gotten used to doing it. I make 1 slip stitch, which is just yarning over and pulling the yarn through at the beginning to kind of hold the yarn so it doesn't go back through. Then if it calls for, let's say we're going to do 10 single crochets in a magic circle or magic ring. Single crochets, you're going to go underneath. Make sure you do the tail as well. That way you've kind of wrapped it around as you go. So you're going to go under. You have the ring here. You're going to go, it's just like a stitch. You're going to go under, yarn over, pull it up, yarn over, pull through. That's a single crochet. Just pretend like this is a big stitch that you're working into. All of these are going to work into this circle. So that was 1, yarn over, pull under, yarn over, pull through 2, go into the circle, yarn over, pull up, yarn over 3, go into the circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and we're just doing single crochets. I like this one better because you're going to see here in a minute you can pull it tight and hide more of the hole that other ways leave. The only problem is if you don't secure it, it can come undone in your work. I've never dealt with that, but once you get your single crochets in there, here's your tail. I usually hold the last stitch that I have in my working yarn, take the tail and pull. And you can gamble to see how hard you can pull before your yarn breaks and you have to start all over. But there, you can barely see the hole that it's left. There's your tail. And then what you do is you take where these, here is your first stitch. There's your V's going around. So instead of having this gap here, this is your first stitch. You usually will, and sometimes it's hard because sometimes I don't pull it as tight as I can until I get that first stitch in there. So go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then I try to give it a little tug because my yarn kind of gets a little loose. Yarn over, pull through, and that gives you a nice round. You can also even just pull on it a little bit more. Now as we go, I don't even know how many we done. As you go along through here, we're just going to do single crochets because this is usually how amigurumi starts. Amigurumi is stuffed animals, toys, whatever you are working on in crochet. And it's usually pretty tight. Sometimes I pull so tight I have yarn burn on my fingers when it's coming around my index finger. and I'm going to meet you at the end and show you how to secure it. Okay, this one's kind of tight, but once you get so many rows going, mine has kind of loosened up a little bit, but all you have to do is just pull it and it tightens itself right back up. But I like to, after I get a few rows in, turn my work inside out. I like to pull that magic circle tight again, and then I will take, I've already attached my needle, I will take my needle and attach to the tail that's going to be inside, because here's your working yarn over here and this is where my hook was. But to secure it, you just go in and out of a few stitches. You can do it 2 or 3 times, doesn't matter, just don't go all the way through your work. Just, this one's got a sharper end on it, more like a sewing needle, because this can be a little difficult depending on how tight your stitches are. It is for me. And then that should secure your work. You can either leave the tail on there because it's going to go back inside of the leg or the arm or whatever you're working on and get stuffed, and it's not going to be noticeable. Or I usually just, wherever I'm at, I just cut it off and then I continue my work, and my magic circle will stay intact and it won't take a chance on coming out.